แล้วก็ในขณะเดียวกันจะกลับมาที่กิจกรรมนะครับเราพร้อมแล้วพระเดชพระคุณองค์ปาฐกถาพร้อมแล้วนะครับในเวลาต่อนนี้ไปก็จะได้รับฟังการปาฐกถาพิเศษนะครับซึ่งประวัติของพระเดชพระคุณนั้นถ้าจะเป็นเปเปอร์นะครับก็คงจะได้1ชุดเป็นพอร์ตใหญ่ๆด้วยกันแต่ผมจะขออนุญาตได้สรุปสั้นๆนะครับว่าพระเดชพระคุณนั้นถือว่าเป็นบุคลากรของคณะสงฆ์เป็นพระสงฆ์ที่มีบทบาทสำคัญทั้งในและต่างประเทศนะครับโดยเฉพาะในระดับนานาชาติเป็นวิทยากรในระดับองค์การยูเนสโกเป็นผู้บริหารในระดับมหาวิทยาลัยต่างๆนะครับรวมทั้งได้เป็นผู้บรรยายในส่วนงานราชการทั้งศาลยุติธรรมศาลตุลาการและศาลยุติธรรมไทยแล้วก็เป็นที่ปรึกษาของสำนักนายกรัฐมนตรีอันนี้คร่าวๆนะครับแต่อย่างไรก็ตามเพื่อให้ได้เป็นที่รับรู้แล้วก็อนุโมทนากับองค์ปาฐกถาของเราในวันนี้พระเดชพระคุณพระธรรมสาคยวงศ์วิสุทธ์นะครับที่เราเรียกว่าพระเดชพระคุณท่านเจ้าคุณนิมานธรรมสากิโยท่านเป็นรองอธิการบดีฝ่ายวิเทศสัมพันธ์และพันธกิจสากลของมหาวิทยาลัยมกุฏราชวิทยาลัยนะครับโดยย่อๆจะขออนุญาตนะครับท่านเป็นอธิการบดีกิตติมศักดิ์มหาวิทยาลัยพุทธศาสนาแห่งโลกเป็นกรรมการสภามหาวิทยาลัยชานสเตทนะครับ Buddhist University ของเมียนมาเป็นฝ่ายปกครองเป็นเจ้าคณะภาค6และ7ธรรมยุทธเป็นผู้ช่วยเจ้าวาดวัดบวรนิเวศวิหารนะครับท่านสำเร็จการศึกษาเป็นสารศาสตร์สนบที่มหาวิทยาลัยแห่งนี้นะครับแล้วก็ที่สำคัญพระเดชพระคุณมีบทบาทสำคัญทั้งในและต่างประเทศอาทิเป็นวิทยากรในโครงการของภาครัฐสำนักนายกรัฐมนตรีกระทรวงยุติธรรมกระทรวงอุดมศึกษากระทรวงวัฒนธรรมกระทรวงการต่างประเทศเป็นต้นนะครับแล้วก็พระเดชพระคุณนั้นถือว่าเป็นพระสงฆ์ที่มีบทบาทเพราะเป็นผู้แทนรัฐมนตรีว่าการกระทรวงการต่างประเทศในนามผู้แทนประเทศไทยไปร่วมประชุมและเป็นองค์ปาฐกถาหลักในการประชุมนานาชาติขององค์การประชาชาติที่มหานครนิวยอร์กนะครับหลายครั้งด้วยกันพระเดชพระคุณเป็นวิทยากรบรรยายภาคภาษาอังกฤษเรดิโอไทยแลนด์ของกรมประชาสัมพันธ์ทุกวันอาทิตย์ที่2และที่4เขาทุกเดือนอันนี้ย่อๆนะครับพร้อมแล้วนะครับสำหรับหน้าจอนะครับในการประชุมกิจกรรมวิสาขบูชานานาชาติครั้งที่7ในวันนี้ด้วยการปาฐกถาพิเศษภาคภาษาอังกฤษนะครับเรื่อง How to Buddhists Handle COVID-19 ชาวพุทธปฏิบัติอย่างไรต่อโควิด -19 ขอกราบอาราธนาพระเดชพระคุณพระธรรมสาคยวงศ์วิสุทธิ์ดร.รองอธิการบดีฝ่ายวิเทศสัมพันธ์ด้านวิเทศสัมพันธ์และพันธกิจสากลขอกราบอาราธนาครับ
ขอนอบน้อมแด่พระผู้มีพระภาคเจ้าผู้ตรัสรู้เองโดยชอบเป็นพระอรหันต์ขอกราบถวายสักการะท่านอุปนายกสมเด็จพระมหาวีระวงศ์ผู้เป็นประธานเปิดงานในวันวิสาขบูชาท่านอธิการบดีท่านผู้บริหารครูบาอาจารย์และท่านสาธุชนทุกท่าน So this is the English session. Let me just speak in English. Well, I humbly pay respect to the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. My sincere respect to most Serene Somdet Pramahawirwong, Vice Chairman of the Mahamakut Buddhist Council, President of the Mahamakut Buddhist University, Vice Presidents, Senior Administrators, and of course, all ladies and gentlemen who are on this site as well as online session on this year's very important day for Buddhists, that is Vesak or Visakha Puja. We all know that when we think of Visakha Puja or Vesak Day, it is not only a Buddhist festival anymore. From the year 1999, since United Nations have a unanimous decision and announcement proclaiming to the world that Buddhism, especially the Buddhist day of Vesak Day or Visakha Puja Day, is recognized as International Day of Vesak, which means that every international offices under the United Nations settled, established all over the world is allowed to celebrate this very day as one of their annual calendaric festival day, which means Vesak Day is not limited to Buddhist society anymore, Buddhist community anymore. Buddhism in many ways is transformed itself in this modern century as a universal religion, I guess. You can be a Buddhist without proclaiming that you are a Buddhist. You can be a Christian, you can be a Jewish, you can be a whatever you are, based on your birth, based on your society, based on your culture. But at the same time, you can equally practice Buddhism parallel with your belief. There is no such thing as a Buddhist conversion. We don't have a rituals, a ceremony which can convert you. Of course, recently, we do have something like that, which we just created for the sake of peace of mind for newcomers. They find that they need some kind of affirmation to show that they have become Buddhist. So we just invented those rituals. But it was not necessary ritual from the beginning, from the text. Unlike so many other religions, they have what we call the rituals for receiving or accepting that particular religion. We are baptized in Christianity, or even in Islam, you have different rituals which can convert non-religious one or other religious to their own religion. But in name of Buddhism, there is no such thing that we can convert someone to somebody. The conversions from Buddhist point of view come from inside of yourself. The conversion from the Buddhist point of view is a transformation. It is a self-transformation. How do you transform yourself from unhappiness one to a happier one? Transform yourself from incapable of adjusting yourself in the society to someone who is very capable of living in a society in harmony with many others. This is a true transformation by being Buddhist. And of course, in these 3 years, we all knew that in 2019, towards the end of 2019, the world faced the worst disease which nowadays we call it coronavirus, or abbreviationally called COVID-19. It was not only China which started in Wuhan, but it's immediately spread from China to all neighboring countries, coming to Thailand, and suddenly it just burst all over the world. This heinous disease, in few times, in a very short times, transformed itself to be a pandemic, a global pandemic, a novel pandemic. And it created such a fear, distress, frustrations. And it destroyed the whole society, social system, business system, political systems, in a way that this novel coronavirus has a very, very dangerous, it has a very, very heinous impact on every sector of human life. Of course, we don't have to say about what is a hazard. We have gone through the health hazard. In times of this coronavirus, spreading of the coronavirus at the time, suddenly what we saw is that the very fear of death, the fear of disease, insecurity in life, it was not only insecurity in terms of a single human being, but it is so powerful that it can sweep and bring death to the whole village after village, city after city. Such evident, such phenomena, what we have seen in our history, this is regarded as one of the most worst pandemic in the human remembering history. Of course, there was some other pandemic in terms of a death toll might be a bigger than the coronavirus. But what we see at the moment is that we are seeing the whole world panicking with the death, with the respiratory disease, and especially seeing the incidents who infected with this COVID-19 and then had to be alone and had to really fight for their life. It's become a very drastic pictures for every one of us in this 21st century. And it is quite interesting to see that when this happened, the coronavirus, COVID hit the world. The things we are seeing is a despair, fear, loneliness, and you just become hopeless in your life because it has become so difficult even to get a simple help. Because even the helper has to be very careful. All medical personalities has to burn out their lamp. They didn't have time for their own family because of the patients was inundated. All hospitals was fully occupied, and then it's beyond all capacity of what we have in our countries, in the world. We have seen in every country that hospital is about to collapse. The medical system, the medicine, the medical equipment, we never thought that it will come to such a situation that we are lacking of those equipments and medicines. While we are talking about the development of the world, while we are talking about the boasting about our inventions, we are very proud of our new technologies. But in front of coronavirus, we suddenly become helpless. All those inventions suddenly become nothing. All those medical creations and inventions was not able to do anything to lessen the impact of the respiratory virus called coronavirus, COVID-19. And from another note, while the world is facing such a dangerous situation, business in their collapse, even at the moment we are seeing that every country, the growth rate of economy is very low. We have lived through this corona for nearly 3 years. Our economic growth is really not picking up as it should be. Worst, we think that with this most advanced technology, we have been through this 21st century, especially with the nanotechnology, which is the remarkable advancement of this 21st century. We are thinking that all these new creations and inventions would be able to help us in coping with this heinous pandemic. But it has proven to us that it is helpless. We can help only to to prolong or to maintain those diseases. After 3 years pass by with this invention of a new vaccines and so far what can is that just able to prevent death rate, but the impact of the pandemic is still high as it was in the beginning. We are doing this kind of a very important festival of Buddhist world. But with this pandemic, what we can do best is that using these technologies, modern technology, as a means to contact, as a means to celebrate our Vesak Day. Having said that, it is very important to think what is the status of religion amidst of this pandemic. We all witnessed that this pandemic has a direct impact on our life, our health, our family, our society, business world, and so on. What about religion? How religion is coping with the pandemic? And this is the very topic I think we are exploring today. And being the celebration of Vesak, we are really focusing narrow down to the status of Buddhism. Where Buddhism is standing amidst this COVID pandemic. Of course, COVID never choose whether you are Buddhist, you are Christian, you are Muslim, whoever you are. COVID doesn't discriminate any human being based on religion, based on your status, based on your richness or poorness, healthy or weak. As long as the COVID virus see the human become victim of those viruses. Unless you are able to be very conscious and be able to be aware of yourself and live your life with what we call awareness. Live your life with what we call mindfulness. So, talking about the status of religion in the time of crisis, in the time of COVID, what we see around this world is that every religion in this 21st century was challenged by this development. What we call development has a direct impact upon lessening the influence of religion in their society, in people's heart. We know that. We always say that religion is declining. If you go and ask the American society, they would say that Christianity or religion in America is declining. You go to any country in Europe, every research paper, every statistic shows that the faithfulness, the adherence towards religion is declining. Come nearer to the Asian countries. Again, in Asian countries, you have so many countries whose majorities are Buddhist or Brahmanism or some certain religion. But when you go and really look at in every country, you will find the same situation, same pictures, that the adherency, the level of faithfulness in religion is declining. If you look at the graph of religious adherence in every country, you will see every religion's believer is declining and declining and declining. Coming to this very country, which we always say that this is a very remarkable Buddhist country. In Thailand, by the statistics, we have over 90% of their population adhere Buddhism. We have in Thailand nearly over 40,000 Buddhist wats or Buddhist monasteries these days. But when you look at the population of Buddhist monks, it is on decline. In old days, we always see that, we always read that there were something around 300,000 Buddhist monks in Thailand. But I had just read through one of the recent report by National Office of Buddhism, and this in recent years, the population of Buddhist monks has reduced to something only 200,000. While population is growing from 60 to 70 millions, on the contrary, the percentage of Buddhist monks are declining. There are no novices to carry on to become a Buddhist monk and later on. In old days, in Thailand, we see Buddhism as a kind of a very influential option for people to get free education, to get free development in their lifestyle. But nowadays, that figure, that sort of idea has changed. So if you want to be ordained as a novice or Buddhist monk, it means that you have to make sure that you really opt out all your secular life and dedicate yourself for religious. So in that sense, in old days, to ordain is sometimes regarding as a hobby. To ordain is regarding as a habit. To ordain is regarding as a kind of a short course, taking a short course. But these days, this phenomenon, this situation has changed. So what we see at the moment is that the number of monks are declining. Numbers of temples, what are increasing. And general media is saying that Buddhism is declining. So not only Buddhism, every religion facing the same situations, that their adherence is losing to atheism. Their adherence is losing to someone, someone saying that I don't believe in religion. I don't need a religion to live their life. So something happened with this COVID. Sometime as a religious man, I guess, we have to rethink. To look at the COVID is more from the positive way, I guess. The whole world is looking at the COVID in a very negative way. But I'm saying that we might have to change our perspective of looking at the COVID in a bad way. Because after the escalation of a COVID in America and all over the world, there was a research done by a Pew Research, and then it was quite surprising to see that when you are looking at the word prayer, looking at the word peace, looking at the word healing in Google, during this COVID pandemic, the project, the scale, the percentage of searching for those things was highest ever recorded in history. And there is even a very clear research which came out that people become more religious with the impact of COVID. So it is quite ironic. While COVID has a direct impact damaging business, damaging society, damaging every social institution, but on the contrary, Buddhism, or on the contrary, the religion is getting more popularity. Religion becomes your last resort when they are in crisis. So there are many psychological research. There are so many sociological research showing that religion is very important, or religion plays very important role in the time of crisis. When you have to face the traumatic experiences, religion becomes something you have to go and cling on to, because everything is hopeless, and only hope, only tiny thread of hope is become religion. Religion with the theistic, where you have a superpower, where you have a God. At least there's nothing you can hope for. At least there's a small hope, small ray of hope with a God, with some kind of a belief. But when you come back to Buddhism of a kind of religion, it doesn't have a God. It's a kind of religion which doesn't emphasize on God or on any superhuman. Buddhism is a religion of here and now. Buddhism is a religion of this life. Of course, there is a lot of teaching. Of course, there is some kind of teaching and instruction which you can draw up to the next life. But that is more or less, I would say, that folk level of Buddhism, popular Buddhism. But if you are a true, authentic, orthodox or Theravada Buddhism, what you will see that Buddhism is a DIY, do-it-yourself religion, where you have to bring those teachings and embed in your life, so able to cope with any situation and any problem which you are facing in this life. So that is very important, I guess, that we have to think. There is a very nice book, very long time ago. I think it was in the 1970s. One book is called To Comfort and to Challenge. In this literature, the author put it very nicely that the aspect of world religion in this world, if you put it in a very layman language, there's only two aspects. One aspect is comforting. So you go to the church, you go to any religious place in order to comfort yourself when you are in distress, when your mind is weak. So what we have seen in this world is that a religion played very effective role in comforting the people who are in suffering. So you are helpless. You got COVID. You don't know what to do. For one who believes in a God, oh my God, pray to the God, hoping that the God will send someone, hoping that the God will take that COVID away from him or her. Some other religion, maybe some rituals. During the time of the COVID, we have heard, we have seen pictures, like in India, where the majority is a Hinduism. They have even believed that the urine of a cow can cure COVID. And then trying to go and take the cow's urine and drinking fresh urine, believing that that will help or that will heal the COVID. Worst, there's even the deities, the goddess was invented. It's called Covidamata, the goddess of COVID. In all the villages, they go to this very fearful green figure of deities, the goddess, and hoping that by worshiping, by pleasing that very goddess, COVID wouldn't attack us. So this is a very comforting part of religion. Whether it works or not, who knows? Whether it works or not, only God knows, I guess. But it gives certain amount of comfort for the people who are in distress, who are in suffering. So most of the religion plays the role of comforting. But Buddhism has a little bit different aspect on that point. Of course, with the invention of Buddhist rituals, be in the Theravada, be in the Mahayana, be in Vajrayana, we do smartly invent new rituals, new Buddhist rituals, in order to comfort people who are in need. But the main idea of Buddhism is not comforting. Because Buddha never said that by praying, by chanting, by offering this and that to someone or somebody will solve your problem. Because Buddha's idea is problem is not out there. Problem is in here. Problem is within us. So in order to solve the problem, not go and solve out there, but you have to solve inside of yourself. So this is one of the very, very drastic challenge which Buddhist teaching has been put forward in the society, in this world. So when you become a Buddhist or when you follow the Buddhist principle, so you wouldn't find easy so that you just go to the shrine behind me like that and then you can just go and pray. It doesn't work. Because praying, it might temporarily help you to calm down your mind, but it is not helping to solve any problem, especially with the COVID. If you caught the COVID, no one can help you. And during the peak, even the medical personalities is not enough to help you. You have to help yourself. You have to understand the nature of the COVID. So therefore, when the pandemic was very peak in this world, the Buddhist society has a very different stand. From Buddhist point of view, Buddhism didn't say that Buddhists handle the coronavirus by meditating, by praying, by chanting. Of course, we do have a chanting. We do chant the Ratana Sutta. We do chant the Bojjhanga Sutta. We do chant so many other suttas. But it is a part of it, not the whole way of healing it. What we have seen in the world, Buddhist world, is that when Buddhists was facing with this kind of pandemic, what we have seen is that there is two different directions of behaving yourself or practicing Buddhism. These two, I call it spiritual and secular. In a spiritual way, we are doing the job of comforting. We are doing the part of comforting religion. So that's why if someone feels that, if you believe in the chanting of Ratana Paritta, yang kinche vitang idawa hurangwa and so on, fine, you go. But on top of that, the Buddhist monks who are learned, the Buddhist monks who are teachers, come and explain that the core problem, the foundation of the COVID itself wouldn't go away with pure chanting. So we have seen in many television telecasts, in podcasts, in internet and online, trying to explain that the incident which happened at the time of the Buddha, when there was a pandemic and the Buddhas asked Venerable Ananda to chant this very sutta and then sprinkle the holy water, and then with the power of that holy water, it washed away all the pandemic. That was a legend. That was a part of the legend we have been reading, we have been hearing from our ancestors, from our teachers, and it was recorded in the text. But someone who is learned in the Pali come and explain that actually the wiping off of the pandemic is not through the chanting, but through understanding and practicing according to the essence of that very chanting. So, if we look at comforting point of view, you just chant with the language you don't understand, and you feel good, and that finished. But the COVID wouldn't go away with that. So in order to let the COVID, wipe the COVID away, to drive COVID away, you have to understand the cause and effect of the COVID.
You see, this is how Buddhists deal with that. How do Buddhists handle? So it is not only the pure chanting. The chanting is a mantra. The chanting is a kind of a textual to remind yourself, and then you have to fix within your understanding. You have to really work it out in your heart and in your behavior. So, all those chanting in the Ratana Sutta, there was so many incidents Buddha talked about, and then how those incidents, those pandemic was fixed through the loving kindness, through the compassion, through the understanding of nature of humanity, through the understanding of nature of impermanence. So it is not out there, but we have to fix inside of us. So that is one is Buddhist wisdom, I guess. When you talk about Buddhism to handle with this pandemic, it is not only the ritual. The ritual, it works as kind of a burner, just a starting, igniting. All those ritual is ignition in order to bring that fire, that power from that very wisdom which is embedded into chanting. So, with the Ratana Sutta chanting, if you understand what you are chanting, and if you follow the very teaching, the Dharma within those chanting, in the Bhojanga Sutta, it is about the 7 Dhammas, starting from the patience, mindfulness, consciousness, and so on. All those teachings is only become powerful when you practice it, not by simple chanting with your, and not understanding what you are chanting. It is just like a parrot saying, and do not understand what you are singing, what you are saying. But from Buddhist point of view, it is good. It's work as an ignition. But once you ignite, then you have to bring all the essence, all the teaching, which is inside those very sutras, and practice by yourself. And that is become a what? That is become a kind of a really working with the true cause of the problem. For example, with this COVID, we were given the instruction by the medical staff, the medical personalities, that we have to have a social distancing or physical distancing. Because social distancing, someone says that it's not possible because we are social creature. Without society, we can't survive. What we really need is that a physical distancing. In Pali called Kaya Vivek, which means that it is a kind of a physical distance in the real sense. Social distancing sometimes is socializations. You have different pictures. You can socialize these days with the internet, with the help of internet. You can socialize these days with so many other ways. But what we have to careful is physical distancing. We have to keep ourselves distance at least 6 feet. That is how the COVID works. And if you look at those teaching in the Buddhism, you don't have to think of anything. There is a heart of Buddhist teaching, for example, Pantanca Sayanasanam in Ovada Patimokkha. We start with the Sabba Papa Sakaranang Kusalasopa Sampada, which is a very popular phrase that not to do all evil, do all good and purify your mind and so and so. The second and the third stanza, Anupaghato, Anupavado, Anupaghato Patimokhecha Sangvaro. On this third stanza, it says that Pantanca Sayanasanang, in order to progress your life, if you are really dealing to have your peaceful life, time to time, or as much as you can, you have to find isolation. You have to live in isolation. You have to live in a silence, in the isolated place. You have to have your adult in isolation, which is the teaching of 2,600 years ago. I don't know whether it was dealing with the pandemic as such or not, but it is very workable teaching that sometime as a human being, in order to improve our mental power, mentality, we need to live by yourself, by ourselves. The things we do in society is all the actions, but the power to act, all those what we are acting, come from inner us. And that inner us only can develop in isolation. So imagine that we are talking about facing the COVID. COVID or coronavirus is produced by kind of a social mixing of the society, of the interactions, social interactions, in a close proximity. But if we are far away from each other, if we are in isolation, not because of the COVID, because of a space for you to think thoroughly, the space for your own development, mental development, then suddenly it also have a direct impact, direct negative impact upon this COVID as well. Another teaching, which we might very easily see, that Buddha talked about the teaching which was taught and said that every, what we call is deities or God and goddesses, is not up there, is not out there in the out of the world, but the nature, the character of what makes you God or godly is within yourself. God is not out in heaven. It is godly thinking. It is godly way of behaving ourselves in the society itself, which makes you God, or which makes you deity. And it is also says that this is the teaching which can protect the world. And in those teachings, there are two teachings. It's called Hiri and it's called Ottappa. Hiri is the same, and Ottappa is kind of a consciousness, it's kind of a fear. So when you have this kind of a Hiri and Ottappa as a foundation of your living in a society, suddenly it is directly answering the questions of this COVID-19. What is Hiri and Ottappa in the meaning of COVID-19? In Buddhism, in Pali, the word Hiri is shame, becomes shameful. But if you go and try to look at the commentary explaining about the word Hiri, the essence of that commentary, it says that to be Hiri is to be conscious of yourself, to be aware of yourself, kind of a self-responsibility. When you are living with someone else, when you are living in a society, the first ingredients, the first dhamma, the first instrument you need as a foundation of your living your life in this world is that self-responsibility. That is a humanness. That is a humanity. If you don't take your self-responsibility, that is the creatures. That is the other essential being, not the humanity. As a human, whatever culture you are belong to, whatever country you belong to, we were taught from our childhood in every society and in every culture to take self-responsibility. But that self-responsibility is only valid when we also know others' responsibility. Take responsibility of others, because we are not living alone in this world. We become human because there is another human to interact with us. I am a lecturer at the moment because I have audience here. If I don't have this live telecast on Zoom or on Facebook, and I don't have anyone listening in front of me, there's only all the empty chairs. But if I still do the action of teaching, the action of explaining, action of lecturing as I'm doing at the moment, am I a lecturer? I am a lecturer or not? Of course, you might say that by the functions I am, but it's a kind of lecturer where you need to end up in the mental institution, because you can talk for yourself and it doesn't mean anything. So that's why self-responsibility, taking responsible of who you are, what is your function in society, what is your status in society, at the same time, think of others. So it is saying that you have to think of egocentric as well as other-centric. Your egocentric is only safe when you are aware of other-centric. And these are the teachings which is directly answering to the situation of COVID, I guess. I'm not here to talk about how COVID can be dealt with these modern medicines. That is the job of medical professionals. But I am dealing here with the Buddhist point of view, how you deal with the COVID and how most of the Buddhists deal with it. So the spiritual side is that the chanting, as I said, and during this COVID, we have seen many temples, all the Buddhist monks was, especially in Thailand, for sure, the Supreme Sangha Council, with the leadership of His Holiness Supreme Patriarch, immediately with this situation, put forward the Sangha command and asking every Buddhist monks in every Buddhist temple to carry on the chanting, hoping that with the power of that chant, at least give some encouragement and peace of mind for the people who are suffering with the COVID. That is the spiritual side. Then, there is also the teaching side, where Buddhist monks and lecturers and experts and professionals who is bringing different Buddhist teaching and applying in a way how we deal with this crisis. That is the spiritual side of how Buddhists handle it. So if you go and look at the Buddhism and COVID, or Buddhism and coronavirus under the Google, you will find that there were so many online teachings which taught you to hold yourself, to handle yourself during this pandemic period. You have online meditation courses during this pandemic period. And then meditation become very important part of it in order to cope with the COVID-19. Instead of praying, instead of having a very difficulty in respiratory system, I have seen some of the patients who was caught with this coronavirus and then very difficult, facing difficulty in breathing. And being a Buddhist, known about meditation, during this dire period, what they did is that they meditate, they regulate their breath. Generally, when you were attacked with the infections, you are panic. You can't breathe. You suddenly become more panic. You are getting hard to breathe. You are getting more panic, and you are already imagine of your death, already imagine of suffering, already imagine of frustration. You are getting more frustrated. And suddenly, if you are a true Buddhist and understand Buddhism, you will know that whatever arises, whatever come up, one day in some time, it will cease. Things are come up and cease. Things are impermanent. COVID, we know for sure that COVID can't last long. Just like all other humans, just like everything in this world. You know, I can't keep on talking like this forever. In a few minutes, I have to stop. So things are bound to rise and bound to decline. Anicca, the impermanence, is things, compounded things, join and become something, and then it disperses. It's decomposed. So same as if you understand the COVID, it come up and stay with you for some time, and it will go away. It will go away with the medication, or it will go away with your way of how you take care of yourself. So once you know that, instead of getting more panic, you become more peace. Instead of using methodology to meditating, breathe in and breathe out, using the same technique in order to take charge of your breathing system. And I have seen many who use that very technique to pass through this very critical time. And they said that while everyone is searching for oxygen, lack of oxygen, but they were able to control their breathing system and then able to survive, able to hang on to whatever the oxygen you got it here. And this kind of research is scientifically proven. In Massachusetts, in Boston, in America, they have tried, they have gone through this lot of trial and research with all the Buddhist monks and Buddhist practitioners. And scientifically proven that if you're able to meditate properly, you can reduce the consumption of your oxygen in a certain level that you can't imagine at all. There is a research which did in their lab in America. It says that with the proper meditation, you can reduce the consumption of oxygen up to 80% of the normal human being. So imagine, the proper meditation is a very, very efficient method to deal with the COVID when you are lack of breath. In normal situation, you have to take 100% breathing oxygen, but in the state of your mental quietness, your body can adjust until you can survive with only 20% oxygen. When you listen to it, it looks like a fantasy, but this is a scientifically proven. So meditating is another option so Buddhists was using in order to deal with this coronavirus. Not only that, Buddhist monks and Buddhist community are helping each other, supporting each other during this pandemic, not left over. Although by the nature of the COVID itself, It's prohibit us to see each other in a close proximity, but we doing all our way to help, to support each other. That is a strength of harmony, the unity, the society. From another note, from the spiritual side of view, it is not only all those religious, in a sense, are very mental thing, but we have seen in many countries, for the folk level, for the popular Buddhism, kind of a sort of a villages who doesn't have much patience to study Buddhism through. They just want some quick fix. And we have seen in Thailand, Buddhist monks who make this facial mask with talisman, with all this yanta, giving some hope that it will prevent the COVID. Whether the COVID know that yanta or not, we don't know. But at least some kind of mental support. It was not only in Thailand what we see that. Actually, Buddhism in Korea, Buddhism in Japan, Buddhism in Taiwan, they also have this talisman. They also have this yanta, different piece of paper, different piece of a cloth with the painted text or the mantra or the pictures, and hoping that if you hang on, if you keep that talisman with you, it will wait away the COVID, which is very not logical, but it is kind of a belief, and then hoping that with that kind of a hanging over this kind of a talisman, at least give you some awareness, and then bring back all those teachings. So these are the spiritual side you have seen during the COVID period, how Buddhists handle from the part of a very pure religion. Certainly, in Buddhism, we always say that Buddhang Saranang Gacchami, I take refuge in Buddha. We simply, if we put into the practice, which means that I take Buddha as my guideline. I take awakening, I take wisdom as my guideline. And you see that these are all the wisdom Buddha has been given, Buddhism has been given to the Buddhists. The Dhammang Saranang Gacchami, I take refuge in the Dhamma. Again, Dhamma is what? Dhamma is principle. Dhamma is what? Dhamma means a balance, uphold. So again, you are saying that I will take those principles as my guideline in following my life. And then especially the Sanghang Saranang Gacchami is very relevant here. We take refuge into the Sangha. Sangha here is not only the Buddhist monk, but we are talking about our community, a Buddhist community. And we are, as a Buddhist, we are, all the Buddhist monks, Buddhist temples, and even the Buddhist community become our refuge, become our friends in need. So this is what I see as how Buddhists handle during this COVID. Of course, everyone is scared of the COVID. Of course, everyone realizes that it is a health problem, but we are trying to not to develop, not to transform that health development to a mental disease. We are using that spirituality. We are using your Buddhist teaching to stop from transforming those diseases to a mental disease. But one very important part of what we have seen through this COVID period is how Buddhist society, Buddhist monastery, Buddhist personality, Buddhist monastic, and Buddhist community played very important role in helping out, in reaching out to the COVID-19. In Mahamakut, we just published last year, we published this book we call Metta Tham Pisut, which means that the pure loving kindness, the teaching of the pure loving kindness. And if you go through this book, which was published by the Mahamakut, you will see that how Buddhists have been playing the important role in curing the society in stress, especially when you are in a distress, when you are in a frustrations, only mental side is not enough. Mind is a part of it, very important. But at the same time, you can't live with your imagination. I just think that, oh, I had a very good lunch in my mind. And then, just enjoy that in my mind. Can I survive with that? No. I can imagine, but in order to energetic my body, I need to have a proper food. I need to go through the proper digestions of my food. I can't just imagine. So the part of imagination, part of mind is important. But at the same time, what about our body? Buddhism teach about human being in two parts, that is mind and body. So in terms of during this time of pandemic, what we have seen is very, very remarkable that it was started in the end of 2019. And by February 2020, the number of the COVID was very high. And at the time, I can't remember the exact date, but it was in February 2020 that the Prime Minister of Thailand, General Prayut Chan-o-cha, issued a decree and announced that this is a pandemic. So once government announced that this is a pandemic, so you have a different law to deal with. You have a different way to deal with the situation. It was in February. By the beginning of the March, after the government announced the situation of the country as a pandemic, who would imagine that? His Holiness, Arya Wongsakatayan, the Supreme Patriarch of Thailand, the 20th Supreme Patriarch of Thailand, the current Supreme Patriarch of Thailand, immediately issued his Sangha command in the Supreme Sangha Council that this is a period every Buddhist monks, every temple have to really work it out in order to heal the society, in order to face the crisis. Suddenly, with His Holiness' far-sighted vision, while Thailand is facing with that certain crisis, suddenly we got this blessing. All Buddhist temples dotted around the country change its role. Suddenly become a temple where you go and give a food to the monks. Suddenly, with the very far-sighted vision of His Holiness Supreme Patriarch, we turn our temples to the public kitchen. We turn all our temple, 40,000 temples around the country, immediately change its role where the COVID patient can really come into and take refuge in. As we always say that Sanghang Saranang Gacchami, I take refuge in the Sangha. Before, we never realized what does it really mean. But with the far-sighted vision of His Holiness, the Supreme Patriarch, and the actions taken by the Supreme Sangha Council, immediate action which was taken by the Supreme Sangha Council, turned all Thai Buddhist temple to something which you call this for the public. Well, people can turn into when they are in distress. Not only in the mental distress, but the physical distress. If you don't have food, the market is closed because of the COVID. and you lose your job because of the COVID, and you can't afford to find any food for nurturing your body. Suddenly 40,000 temples with the request of the Supreme Patriarch, we turn our temple, we turn our Buddhist universities, we turn all Buddhist monastic to become a warrior to fight with this COVID disease. We have seen the Buddhist temples turn itself to be a field hospital. We have seen Buddhist temple suddenly become a kitchen, public kitchen. And the pictures, we hardly see that the monks go and chopping around their vegetable. Suddenly, monks change their role, become a receiver of the food, become the one who become a chef themselves. Which is actually, if you are very strict with the Vinaya, you are not allowed to cook for yourself. But on that situation, you are not cooking for yourself, but you are cooking for the public. Suddenly, all those temples, all those wats, even this university, we change our role immediately. Not without someone's command, but just a wide vision, far-sighted vision, and requested by His Holiness the Supreme Patriarch. Suddenly, all Buddhist temples become the place where you can get medicine. During the first age period of this pandemic, we lack of this mask. Many temples, Buddhist temples, suddenly transform their Buddhist monks and monastic to cut their robe or to cut whatever the cloth possible. We are not talking about whether it is a healthier, whether it is a surgical mask or not, but at least in the temporary cases, we can create enough mask, facial mask, with the labor of the Buddhist monk and the Buddhist community. And we are distributing all over the country. This is what we have seen a Buddhist really mean. We are not leaving anyone behind, but everyone doing everything within their capacity to help the patient, the victims of the COVID, with a loving kindness and compassion. Every teacher, Dalai Lama, in the same way, came out and says that this is a time to practice real compassion. This is a time to practice, to share our loving kindness to the people who are really in need. Loving kindness and compassion is nothing about just thinking in yourself. It is an action. It is an act-based Dhamma. And suddenly, what you are seeing that Buddhist monks are becoming a nurse. Buddhist monks are distributing food to the village, to the house to house. Buddhist monks are using whatever measurement in order to heal the society. The most remarkable is that all those death toll from the COVID, it was never imagined that all the cremation sites, all the temples with the crematorium will not able to handle it. But during that time, the death toll was so high, so in a way that it was beyond the capacity. So suddenly, the Buddhist monks made all the free cremations. They did not stop. The Buddhist monks go and do the job of the crematorium itself. Someone who has a knowledge in the herbal medicines, all the Buddhist monks trying to make a herbal medicine. On top of that, putting some of the magical spell as well. So using all the spiritual power as well as a physical power so that we can pass through this pandemic. So after all this, what I have said, you can see in the many research that if we put all this in number in this figure, we can see that we have used, I don't know, the government was so lucky. We have raised quite big amount of budget from public, from the temple, in order to cope with the situation. If we rely on the government alone, even it was very difficult for every government to deal with. We have seen that we are not looking only at the Thailand, but we also send our help to foreign countries. His Majesty King of Thailand, we have seen that he is helping every way as a Buddhist patron, using vehicle to test ATK and so many other equipments to all over Thailand, all hospitals. I don't know, in terms of money-wise value, it is, I don't know how many billions of that. But at the same time, the compassion and loving kindness not only limited in Thailand. We have heard the news that His Majesty King of Thailand sent this help out to India when India was in a very crisis with this coronavirus. Load full of plane with the equipment and whatever they need, send it free as a humanitarian. Not only is India, where it's a Buddhist land, but it's also in Nepal, where Buddha was born. His Majesty King, again, sent another whole plane with a full of equipment, what they needed in order to take care of their patient of the coronavirus. So this is a true idea of the, what we call is loving kindness and compassion, metta and karuna. So it is not a teaching, it is action. And this is how Buddhists has been handling their time. Of course, with this coronavirus, we have seen that we have to rethink of our development. Even the SDG, Sustainable Development Goals, proved to be failed with this COVID. So again, we have to think, and it could be another topic that we can come and discuss about how Buddhism can help, or how Buddhist teaching can help to develop this coronavirus situation. Not only that, we are using our daily life as a part of meditation. For example, there is a clip, there is a way of sending how do you wash your hands mindfully. Turning your daily activity as a part of the Dhamma practice. Generally, we have to wash your hands for the safety of the health, but there are many Buddhist communities who are using that very washing hand motion as a part of your meditations. You wash your hand with a true meditative quality. So it is not only washing your hand, but washing away your dirt in your mind as well. So these are the things you can see that how Buddhism has been, our Buddhists has used their teaching, their way of living, and suddenly we turn Buddhist monks to become a super monk, not a superman, during that period. So we have seen the symbol of the Buddhism. It's a part of a way to have this social awareness of those things. In Burma, the monks were chanting and sprinkle this holy water through the city, hoping that the power of that Buddhist chant will bring, calm down the COVID. So it was not only limited to the Buddhists, but we are exchanging, we are handing out even for the other religions as well. The teaching wise, it is very, very, and if you see that how Buddhism has been working, and you will see the Majesty King, and you see all the news clip here. And if you want to see which country of the Buddhist country has done what, you have all the information here. Canada, USA, India, and some of the monks, unfortunately, with working out in the field, they even sacrificed their life. That is something we have to really praise their courage that for the safety of the people, they even sacrifice, some of the monks, they even sacrifice their life with the COVID by helping others. So this is a kind of extreme sacrifice they made it. So with this last note, I can say that Buddhism is a social religion. Buddhism is a problem-solving religion. Buddhism is a DIY religion. So in a way that Buddhists, how they handle this crisis, the COVID, is very obvious that we didn't use only spiritual point of view, but we equally use our secular and physical help and loving kindness in a way that how we help out and how Buddhists survive, and hope that we will pass this situation, this critical time very soon, not too late. So in a way that you can come back, resume to our life, the normal life with a true humanity once again. So thank you for your attention and hope that it will, my talk has given some of the views, some of the points for your considerations. Thank you very much.
การปาฐกถาพิเศษภาคภาษาอังกฤษนะครับหัวข้อ How do Buddhists handle COVID-19 นะครับชาวผู้ปฏิบัติตนอย่างไรต่อโควิด -19 โดยพระเดชพระคุณพระธรรมสากยวงศ์วิสุทธิ์ดร.รอธิการบดีด้านวิเทศสัมพันธ์และพันธกิจต่างประเทศนะครับพันธกิจสากลพระเดชพระคุณได้บรรยายก็มีความครบถ้วนสมบูรณ์นะครับโดยเฉพาะอย่างยิ่งถ้าเราจะได้เข้าไปเชิงลึกได้ฟังตลอดก็จะเห็นว่าพระเดชพระคุณได้ให้ข้อคิดอยู่ 2-3 ประเด็นด้วยกันนั่นก็คือการอุบัติขึ้นของโควิด -19 ว่าทำให้ประชากรของโลกมีการนับถือศาสนาเพิ่มมากขึ้นเหตุเพราะว่าเรื่องของความทุกข์สมุทัยเรื่องของสาธารณสุขในเรื่องของการเยียวยานะครับเล็งเห็นถึงความสำคัญคือทางด้านจิตใจและก็ธรรมะขององค์สมเด็จพระสัมมาสัมพุทธเจ้านะครับประเด็นที่2เรื่องของการแก้ไขวิกฤตโควิด -19 นั้นได้เริ่มต้นที่จากสิ่งภายนอกนะครับแล้วก็เริ่มต้นจากภายในตัวเราเอง2สิ่งด้วยกันนะครับที่จะคอยประสานทำให้วิกฤตนั้นคลายได้ในสถานการณ์ที่เป็น New Normal ในอนาคตอันไกลนี้นะครับแล้วอันหนึ่งก็คือเรื่องเข้าใจในหลักธรรมชาติของโควิด -19 นะครับก็เป็นประเด็นสั้นๆผมคิดว่าท่านผู้ฟังแล้วก็เข้าชมกิจกรรมนี้อยู่นะครับก็คงจะได้ต่อยอดเพราะว่าเวลามีจำกัดนะครับในห้วงเวลา 11 นาฬิกานี้ก็ต้องกราบขอบพระคุณพระเดชพระคุณพระธรรมสากยวงศ์วิสุทธิ์ดร.รอธิการบดีฝ่ายวิเทศสัมพันธ์แล้วก็ด้านพันธกิจสากลนะครับได้เมตตาบรรยายลำดับต่อไป